Hi there, my name is Kalina Staub, and I'm a teaching associate professor at UNC Chapel Hill. And today I'm going to talk about how to remain flexible and build connections, lessons from teaching during COVID. I want to start off by, apologizing for the quality of my slides. I, realized I was going to be in a session with Eric Chang earlier and decided I was going to try to make my slides really awesome because his slides are always amazing. And, then I abandoned that entirely because, it's 2020, everything is crazy, and who has time to make amazing slides? I sure didn't this past week. So bear with me with my poor PowerPoint skills. Just a little background about kind of what I teach in a normal semester. I teach normally a one semester principles of both micro and macro Econ 101 class to 400 students. And as of last fall, I had flipped that classroom. So I'd recorded all my lectures, and in class, we answered poll everywhere questions. So I'd give them a couple minutes to work on a question together, and then we'd go over it as a class. In addition to the large lecture 101, I typically teach two sections of either labor economics or gender and economics that have about 40 to 45 students each. And my typical approach to my upper division classes is small lecture chunks interspersed with activities and problem solving. This semester is, as we all know, not a normal semester. In my 101 section this year, I actually have 540 students. We had an unexpected retirement at the beginning of the year, and so our 101 sections got increased, the enrollment got increased, which has been fun because a lot of the Zoom capabilities only work up to 500. So I worked with instructional designers over the summer to try to get this course online. They suggested that I do it completely asynchronously because of the flexibility that's requested through the university with everybody's different schedules, different locations this semester. I thought it was really important to have an optional synchronous component for my students that were able to attend class, just because I think that ability to ask questions and work with your peers is so important, and that's really what we're losing by being online. So I have optional group work on Tuesdays where they meet with ULAs, and the ULAs put them in breakout rooms and then go around and help them work through some of the challenge questions for the week. And then on Thursday, I review those challenge questions. And these challenge questions are the same poll everywhere questions that we were doing in class before, but now we're not working through them one at a time as a class. They're working through them on Tuesdays, and we're reviewing them on Thursdays. And in 101, I'm using a variation of specifications grading, which I'm going to talk about later on in the presentation. But the specifications grading is an effort to make things more manageable for myself, and also try to take away some of the grade stress that falls on students. In my two sections of labor economics, I have 85 students across both sections. And again, I've gone completely asynchronous because I do have some students in India and China. And so I want, anybody to be able to complete the class if they want to, but I also have this optional synchronous component. With the labor class, what I've been doing so far is having optional group work days they have a quiz and a problem set due on Fridays. So Tuesdays and Thursdays are optional group work days for those. And they only have mandatory attendance during weeks where they're working on a group presentation. And I'm using another variation of specifications grading in my 480 class in an effort to lessen the grading burden on myself, and also try to help them, not have so much stress on the grades on individual assignments, but just kind of thinking holistically about, what they're learning in the class. So just some observations about what I'm seeing this semester before I start talking about some of the challenges I'm facing and some of the things that I've tried that I think have been successful. So attendance is really low. I have about 40% attending in Econ 101 regularly, which I'm actually pretty, for a course that can be completed completely asynchronously, I'm pretty happy with 40% attendance, honestly. And then in my labor economics class, I'm getting about 20% attendance. So like less than 10 students each class. One class I actually sat there and there was only one student that showed up. So he got, a private tutoring session. The grades that I've been seeing on the first midterm in Econ 101, they were fairly similar to a regular fall. So I was very worried that I was going to see a much lower average and a much larger tail, that DF tail. I was really worried that we were going to lose a lot of students. And I didn't really see that too much in Econ 101. In my labor economics class, however, the grades on the midterm were about a letter grade lower. And, again, that's not entirely shocking because nobody's showing up to class. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the challenges that I'm facing in my classes and some of the things that I've tried to do to address them and some things that I think have been really successful. And hopefully you can take away some of these successes and make them useful in your classes. But also I hope in the Q&A we can kind of brainstorm some ways to address some of the challenges that we're facing. So some of the challenges that I've been facing are, when I ask students, what could be working better? Students want synchronous lectures. They don't like coming and working on problems during class, even though that's what the research says is going to help them learn this material better, and that, watching these videos can be pretty similar to just sitting there listening to me talk to them over Zoom. They really want those synchronous lectures. Going hand in hand with that, students aren't really buying into the active learning over Zoom. A lot of them are anxious about talking to their classmates over Zoom. When I put them in breakout rooms, people complain that nobody has their cameras on, nobody's talking, so they're just sitting there not actually doing anything. I think this kind of goes back to students not, we like what we're used to, we like what feels comfortable, and yeah, working in these breakout rooms might not feel comfortable, but I'm trying to emphasize that it's important in the learning process. But I am having trouble getting students to buy into that. I mentioned this earlier, but I'm really worried about the bottom of the distribution with online learning. I think that they're really losing out on kind of that, I don't want to say peer pressure, but yeah, kind of peer pressure to attend class. And, when you're around your peers, they kind of remind you that you have assignments due. You can work on problem sets together. And I worry that, the motivated students that have these study skills already built up are going to really succeed with online learning, and we're going to leave a lot of people behind that wouldn't necessarily be left behind with classroom instruction. So the last challenge that I want to bring up, and I think that this one's been the most salient for me this semester, is this disconnect that I'm feeling between me and my students, and the disconnect that I think they're feeling with me and with other students. And I've really been struggling with this because one of the things that I love about teaching is going into the classroom and feeding off the energy of my students. And hopefully they also feed off my energy and enthusiasm for the material. And I find that I'm really struggling to generate that enthusiasm when I'm staring out at this sea of, blank faces or people that are obviously doing other things. When I ask questions, nobody's responding. I'm not feeling their energy, and I don't think they're feeling my energy. So now I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that I think have been successful. And the first has to do with with this disconnect. So I started actually last semester doing these coffee chats with students in an effort to get to know them better. And I've kept those up this semester. I have one coffee chat per week that students can sign up for. It's a 45-minute block. Up to 3 students can sign up, and I make it clear that we can talk about anything. It can be course related, it can not be course related, it can be very tangentially course related. And I've loved these this semester. It's been so nice to actually get to see students' faces, to get to talk to them and learn a little bit about them. And these are really giving me some energy and helping me remember that, that these students in the class are real live people on the other side of these cameras, and helping me connect with them more. And I hope that it's helping them feel more connected to me as their instructor as well. The other thing that I've done to try to help with this disconnect, and this is not in my large class because this would be a disaster in my large class, but in my labor economics class, I'm having them do 3 presentations this semester. So instead of writing a policy memo or having a debate in class, they are working in groups of 4 to 5 on 3 presentations throughout the semester. And I tried this in a class that I taught over the summer on the economics of pandemics. And I was really nervous because typically the feedback I get on presentations and group work during the semester in class is people hate group work. They do not want to, they do not want their grade to be dependent on their classmates. We've got free riders, especially if they don't get to choose their groups. They do not like group work. But the feedback that I got from these presentations this summer was amazing. It was their favorite part of the class. So I thought I'd try to incorporate it this semester. And even though I haven't gotten the same overwhelmingly positive feedback on the presentations, I am getting much better feedback on these presentations than normal. And students are saying, the things that students are saying is it's really nice to have this opportunity to connect with other students in this online environment. Having more structured opportunities for students to work in groups, I think can, really help with bridging that disconnect between the students. The next thing I want to talk about is specifications grading. We were all transitioning our classes online and just feeling totally overwhelmed, trying to keep up with grading, trying to give students feedback that, of course, they're not reading, they're not internalizing and improving. And the idea behind specifications grading is really that you give students these very clear criteria about what they need to do to meet a certain bar, and they either meet it or they don't. So it's really about giving students these clear, for an A, you have to do this, 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 and this. For a B, you have to do this, 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 and this. And then students can pick and choose kind of what level of work they want to accomplish for the grade that they want. The other thing that I think has been really successful is with the asynchronous class structure that there are these synchronous components. I actually have two different experiences with this. So in my labor class, we've had these very unstructured synchronous class periods and nobody's showing up and they're telling me that they're not helpful. And in the 101 class, I've had these very structured class periods and more students are showing up and they are finding them helpful. So I think, if you're thinking about what's the best use of class time, having some structured activity, having something that they're supposed to be working on. If you just put them in breakout rooms and say, work on this, it's due in a couple days, they're just gonna leave or not participate. But if you say okay, this is due at the end of the day, you can work on it together, I'm here if you ask questions, there's been a lot more engagement. The other thing that I want to highlight as something that has been successful for me this semester, and this is not something that I was able to do by myself. I mean, I could have with lots and lots of time, but I'm really thankful for the University of North Carolina. This past summer, they had these grants for people teaching these large enrollment classes to work with instructional designers. And the instructional designers really helped me put together this very, very clear Sakai site. It is the prettiest and most easy to navigate Sakai site that I've ever had. It's very clear to students. I've got a syllabus tab, the schedule tab, which has every single due date, help available with all of the office hours, all of the free peer tutoring, exam prep with extra practice problems. And then each lesson has, here are the videos you need to watch. Here are the readings you need to do. Here are the assignments you need to complete with a checklist. And I think that really helps students, with their ability to take the class at their own pace. And, they have all the information and so they can complete these assignments as it works for their schedule. It increases the flexibility and I think just makes the learning experience more equitable for students. I think one thing that I keep forgetting is that some students signed up for my class knowing that there was this asynchronous option and that matters to them. They have a lot on their plates this semester and they might be okay doing a little bit worse in their classes because at least they're still able to take these classes asynchronously. So I think we need to, not forget that even though students might not be doing what we know they should be doing to do as well as they possibly can, I don't know that anybody's really aiming for the best they possibly can this semester. I don't know about you all, but I've kind of decided to just aim to do what I need to do to get by because, it's a challenging semester for all of us. So I think just trying not to lose sight of that is really important. So in conclusion, I just want to say, it's a rough semester. Hang in there. We'll get through it. And I look forward to chatting with you in the Q&A.